right, so everybody, thanks so much for listening. We have an incredible guest. And if you're a first time on the YouTube, please subscribe. If you're listening to us on the radio, we do thank you for listening. Again, like I said, incredible guest. This is not going to be the last time she's on. We're definitely going to have her on many, many more times. She has a wealth of knowledge. I'm not trying to blow you up, Nancy, but I'm going to do it. You know, because you do have a lot of knowledge. But anyways, we'll get to why she's on. All right, her book is The Life of a Psychic Detective. This is an incredible story. I think everybody's going to love this. Nancy Weber, thanks so much for your time. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Thank you, Rob. And I'm looking forward to hearing what makes you curious about all of it.
Well, let's start off with this before we even get into the book. Do you know what I'm thinking right now?
Remember to send your address.
No, but I'll tell you, this is really a good conversation. People are going to love this because we're sick of all the political gobbledygook we've been talking about for the past, God knows how long, and we're going to change directions here. So let's talk about this. When did you know you were a psychic or had some sort of natural ability to read people and dogs, animals, minds, rather?
You know what? You said it best that I've ever heard. And I'll tell you why in a second.
Okay.
You said psychic, or I mean, you may not have known. Thank you. I had no clue. I wasn't born going, oh, I'm psychic.
I hope not.
I'm here going, yeah, I don't know at all. Folks got to know that. And I'm saying, wait a minute. What is psychic?
Right.
The root of the word is Greek. The word Psyche means soul. You've got a soul. I've got a soul. All children's got souls, right? Good song. So we're all psychic. But what is it actually about is if your intention and your focus is on a pinpointed something, and you notice it, and you pay attention to it, and your intention is curiosity or whatever, you will pick out something from the universe that's flowing through you that is telling you there's more to life than what you see here, or what you hear here, or what you feel here. There's more. And I never called it that, I think, until my 30s, 31. Never called it that. Knew it.
Yeah.
Knew that my family backpedaled the minute I opened my mouth. How did I know the secrets? How dare you? So, and how could you win a clue all the time?
That's true.
And how did you win at roulette every night in Las Vegas when you were 21? And they changed dealers and you still won every time.
Is it?
I didn't call it psychic. But it's all the same thing. Whether it's finding evidence, a murderer, whether it's communicating with a missing dog, where are you, baby? Let me help you. Whether it's looking at somebody and knowing they've just had a serious trauma without even seeing their face maybe, or seeing a photograph of them when they're little and knowing they didn't make it in life. How do you know these things? I think the same way everybody gets things if they pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the lack of paying attention that makes being psychic different. Mediums, different. People say, well, are you a medium too? Of course I'm a medium. Everybody is. Anybody can build the bridge to the other side. It's getting proof that helps you know whether you're doing something or not just saying I'm very intuitive or I'm very psychic. Well, that's nice, but how do you know that?
But would
how
psychic
do you know you're
be
a soul?
Sorry to interrupt you, Nancy,
No.
but would psychic be like would a better word, I guess I'll frame it this way, would a better word for psychic be that you're a good investigator?
Metaphysical investigator.
Okay.
More than the physical presence we have, because the funny part for me is There's not a philosophy or religion on this earth ever, whether it's ancient tribes, cave dwelling people, it doesn't matter. Everyone felt we were more than a body. And we call it soul.
Yeah.
And we say the spirit of our being, right? But we forget that that came first. Creation comes before the creation of it. So the act of creating creates the form, right? But you have to be more than a form. You're not. And that's, to me, the proof is, there's an old book I read many years ago, Dr. Ian Stevenson's 20 Cases of Suggestive of Reincarnation. It's after I did my own past lives and did regression therapy for a lot of people and came up with these incredible proofs. Whether the outcome was it freed them of something. And I thought, well, that's not proof that they lived before, That's proof that maybe metaphorically it just freed up something. But then when I had my own and I found certain things that were weird, like my son spoke French when he was 6 months old, stopped at age 3. I didn't know it. Nobody knew it until a friend who knew French. And she goes, he talks French. I go, he does? I know it was repetitive, but I didn't know language. And things like that added up until long decades later, my father died. And on his deathbed, I said, so where did we get the name Orlen, my maiden name that I use on my books and everything, right? And he said, well, the name was Orleans. I said, we're French? We're French. We're part French. And I'm going, really, Jesse, my son, how the hell did you know that? Where did it come from in you? So I don't know. I don't have a lot of answers, but I love proof. Love proof. It's proof that we are all connected.
So, when we talk about being a detective, I do want to get into the book.
Oh, sure.
Because I know I don't want to keep you on for too long, and I know we're going to have you on again, but I do want to get into this about the book. So speaking about the book, Psychic Detective, I know you've worked with a lot of the law enforcement community and helping, find all these clues. Can you tell the viewers some stories, I guess I should say, about that?
Sure, I can. I think one of the things I'd like to share about how I got in is the willingness to take a risk and go from crime victim, which I had been, to crime solver, which is the basis for why I even wrote it. I had moved to Bud Lake, New Jersey in 1979, and I was taking karate, and my 4-year-old son was taking karate. And so I signed him up, and his teacher was this female black belt. I didn't know she was a police officer. And within a couple of months, there were front pages for the local newspaper about me talking with animals and all kinds of things. I don't know. And she approached me after class and she said, you ever work with the police? And I, why? I wouldn't say yes or no. Got a lot of reasons. I came from the Bronx. And she said, we had a rape murder. And at that moment, I got a flash of a face. And so I described the face. And she said, would you mind talking to my superior officer? I said, of course not. I walked away thinking, what? Went home, cooked dinner. Week later, I go to karate. And this guy is it's a gymnasium. And he's standing against the wall and he goes, psst. And I'm thinking, Ernie from Sesame Street wants to talk. So I go over there. I'm telling you, I grew to love him. He was a wonderful human being. And he's standing side by side whispering, I don't know, side of his mouth, I think. And he asked me to repeat it, and I did. And he said, I'd like to talk to you tomorrow with my partner. And police station was half a mile from me. So they came over. And they're sitting in my office, and we're about 8 feet apart. And they said, we have a problem with your description. I said, what's the problem? Meanwhile, I'm thinking, well, of course there's a problem. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this before. I'm just making up stuff as I go along. And they said, well, there are 2 people answering that description who are suspects. And I went, there aren't. And I got up, storming nicely, maybe not, and limped across the room and sat back down and went crossing my arms and looked at them. And I said, that's him. And they said, how did you know? How'd you do that? How did you know one had a limp? I said, it's easy. I became him. Yeah. And so they went back. They told him they had an eyewitness, which was the first one ever that I heard of, and not the last one he ever used as the target of getting full confessions. And the guy confessed.
Wow.
I know. And that was the first one that we were off and running. He brought me every unsolved case in the history of Mount Olive, New Jersey.
So when you see a lot of these murders on TV, just,
real ones?
Yeah, like.
Oh, I don't watch real. I've been to morgues, evidence rooms, bloody fresh crime scenes. No, thank you. I don't look at real anymore.
Not even but I guess I'm talking about like the Idaho murders with the kids.
Nope. I won't look unless I'm called in, ever. I made the way I can work, and everybody's different. Everybody works differently.
Sure.
And the best way I know how to work is they open the door for me. It can't be people who just want me to help out. It doesn't work. I work with law enforcement better than I work with others, unless they're corrupt. And then I stay away from them and I work with the people directly involved only. I do not talk to anybody else. I am under oath. I had 2 badges. That badge on my book is my badge, an honorary one from a commissioner that I can't talk about because I took an oath. Yeah. So in the book is only adjudicated old cases that I am safe, my family is safe, and the family of the victims are safe.
I get what you're saying.
So I never talk about what I'm doing or if I'm doing it and who I'm doing it with. If they want to talk about it, that's their business. But I'm going to shut up. I'm not saying a word. So when people ask me, why don't you look at this one or that one on emails and PMs and everything else, I have a piece I wrote on my website about crime cases. So I'd like to share one little story about that.
Yeah.
A quick one. Ricky Lake show, when she had it, called me in on missing children because I had just found 3 missing children a couple of years before.
Wow.
And it's a panel of parents, parental abducted children, and me. And then the whole room was stacked with parental abducted kids, parents who are missing them. And so we're going on, and a guy speaks, one of the panel, and Ricky looks at me and she stops right after he speaks. And she said, you see something about it? I said, yes, I do. She said, what do you see? I said, Ricky, if I said what I see, then unfortunately, maybe the woman who took the child might hear this and change what she does and the outcome. Right. I'm not talking now. So I ended up talking afterwards privately with him and with Ricky. And I was right. I told them when and how it would happen. And I was very blessed with picking that up. And I can give you all kinds of reasons why, maybe, but I wouldn't know. I'm just very grateful. He called me when the baby was back in his arms. So that was good. But people do not know and understand that I can't talk about anything that hasn't happened and safe for everybody.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And you don't want to put anybody at risk, or yourself or your family at risk. So I definitely understand that. But are you still being called into places? Obviously, like I said, we're not going to go into detail with certain departments.
Yes.
So you're still.
I also do something else with it now. With permission from the people who are directly involved, who are not getting enough information or whatever, particularly families, with their permission, I bring it to students in a workshop that are either very, very good at it or developing, because beginner's luck, I have seen. Son of Sam, back in the 70s, in a class I taught there, because I've been teaching for 47, 50 years, is first time ever. She never did this before. And we all closed our eyes, we prayed, and nobody got anything except her. She got a name, David Berkowitz.
Yep.
I got a name. That was 3 names. I can't remember. I wrote it all down. 2 weeks later, well, the next day he was caught, David Berkowitz. And 2 weeks later, the newspaper reported he was adopted and his real name was the one I got. And I turned to the woman and said, on the name I got, they never would have found him. On the name you got, maybe that message was he was ready to give it up.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
Right? And so I take it to them and I work as a liaison between my students and the families. I keep them as separate as can be unless they all choose to relate to each other carefully. And I want them to help out. I want them to make a difference, see what they can do.
You know, we're winding down toward the end of the interview. I do want to talk about the animals. Obviously, animals don't speak English. They don't understand
They
English.
don't? I always thought they did.
So my question is, you've really saved a lot of these animals in general. It helped people find where they were missing and get them back. Can you talk a little bit about that and your technique or with that? Okay.
The technique is very simple. I pretend it's real. That's what I can tell you first. I pretend it's real. So when I got a call from a hysterical woman screaming over the phone about a puppy missing and giving me the whole history of why, and it's in the book, All Nature Speaks, and it's far too long to go into that part, immediately flashed this little Doberman Pinscher puppy on a trail with a bunch of them, and he didn't come home. And so I said, oh, hi, puppy. In my mind, I go, you're adorable. I love you. I'll be with you. Don't worry. You'll find your way back. And what I got were just words at that point. Sunday, 10 a.m., barn. And so I said to her, this was Monday. I said, he'll be back next Sunday by the barn at 10 a.m. Well, that didn't do. She was hysterical still. And I gave her details of what I saw, where he was and all. And she spent 24 hours a day searching for what I said and uncovered all the proofs that what I saw was real, but she couldn't get the puppy. Meanwhile, she got another one, too long, why? But she needed to have a different one by her side. And 10 a.m. Sunday, her husband goes to the barn. I didn't know they had a barn. Comes back and goes, you did it again. You lost another puppy. And she said, what do you mean? He said, well, look at it. It's all straggly and wet. She said, no, he's sitting right by me, the second one they got. And he goes, so who's this? She goes, oh, my God, that's the missing puppy. 10 a.m. by the barn, baby. 2.5 years later, and this is why anyone can do this. Because I'm telling you, you use your imagination, you pretend you're really in communication, you watch for any signs, any feeling, everybody gets it differently. 2.5 years later, I'm giving a public talk for the Doberman Pinscher, AKC, whatever you call it, society. Yeah. And a couple of hundred people. At the end, the couple that was involved stood up and said, do you remember us? I said, of course I do. And they said, would you like to meet the puppy you found? I said, I'd love it. And out comes this gorgeous big Dobie, right? And he's prancing around, looking around, goes back and forth, and then sees me and stops dead and runs into my lap on the floor and puts his head on my shoulder and goes to sleep. And they said that's submission to the mother.
Wow. Incredible.
So that's communication. It comes in different ways. It's not one way. And people who think that you can have a rule book on it, think again, throw out the rule book. Everybody's different. No two are alike on how we do that. In that book, All Nature Speaks, is a racehorse. I argued with the jockey who took me over to the racehorse. And I said, lay him on the left. Take him around the bend. You'll see. No, not true. I said, take him around. And sure enough. So he comes back and he said, now I have a harder one for you. Brings me over to another horse. And I look at the horse and I look at him. And this is my little Brooklyn, where I was born, coming out in me. I went, I don't speak French. He said, how did you know she's from France? I told him finally at lunch how I know those things.
I mean, this is incredible stuff. And I know we're winding down. I do want people to, learn more about you, get the books. Where can people find more about you, Nancy? Get the books? Are
Thank
you
you.
on social media? All that
Yes.
stuff.
My full name is Nancy Orlen, Orlen Weber, Weber. That's the name on the fan side on Facebook. And that's where I post an awful lot, including winning free mentoring sessions for half-hour free sessions that I do.
Oh, wow.
Every month, a few I pick who do reviews on Amazon and buy the books. So All Nature Speaks, Psychic Detective, Life of, is on Amazon. And they're both at my website, except shipping. So if you have Prime, you buy them on Amazon. It's that simple. And if you write a review, make sure you come to my fan side on Facebook. Instagram, I'm a hit or miss trying to get to everything.
It is a lot different. So.
Well, it shouldn't be. I can join them, but together, but I don't always. Got a lot on my plate at times.
I believe that. Well, yeah. I'll tell you what, Nancy, it's really been a treat and an honor to have you on. Like I said, this will definitely not be the last time. You have a lot of valuable information to offer the listeners and also the people viewing this on YouTube. So again, for people listening, we do hope you go and get the books and also check her out. It's really incredible and valuable information. Nancy Weber, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
It is an honor to be with you, Rob. I truly mean that.